Really great party last night. Thanks everybody for showing up. It's a little bit bright in here this morning. We turned down the lights just a little bit, my head. So it's Friday, last day. We got a lot of good stuff going on today. We wrap up at actually 2, so Connect is done at 2, although the hacking rooms are still open all day, the network's still up through the end of the day, no problem there. But in terms of sessions and events and stuff like that, it wraps up about 2. There are regular sessions this morning on this Friday of Connect. Demo Friday is in Ballroom 1. It starts at 12:10. There's all sorts of demos. You know, a lot of people put a lot of effort into these demos and planning goes into it, and we have some fun in there. And there's always drinks and food for lunch and stuff like that. It'll be a really good time. So come by and check out the demos. We'll do a wrap-up closing ceremony. It's actually a special wrap-up closing ceremony. I can't reveal all the details, but we would ask everyone to be there at 1:30 for that. And we'll wrap this thing up and close it out. So that's good. In Ballroom 1 next door here, starts at 12:10. If you're checking out, you can leave the bags with the concierge. There's quite a few people who are staying here tonight and aren't actually flying out till Saturday. In fact, I think the majority of the people, that's true, at least the folks that I talked to. So if you're here tonight, you'll have plenty of company. There's lots of stuff going on, a lot of people going into Hong Kong and whatnot. So it should still be good. No one will be alone here tonight, that's for sure. So we had a lot of requests for 96 boards and a lot of people filled out the forms, and we've given out a lot of boards too. And there's some number of boards left, some small number, and the number of people who have filled out forms looking is larger than the number of boards that there are left, at least for today. So basically you talk to Steve, it's a first come, first served basis after the keynote this morning, and pick up a board if you filled out the form and you're looking for one and you still don't have one, okay? And then we're going to wrap it up here with our special keynote. We're going to hear from GKH again, and he's going to tell us how Linaro is doing. Always interesting. Greg?
Hey, it worked. You're always surprised. 2 years ago, I was here at Linaro Connect, and John Corbett from Linux Weekly News was here. If you saw his opening keynote, it was quite interesting. He compared you guys to teenagers who had a messy room and didn't even know how to pick things up. I continued with the trend and said that a lot of the stuff you guys were doing, the way you were interacting with the community, was not working. And I was starting to refuse to take patches from some of you guys. So George kindly invited me back to yell at you guys again. Maybe. All right, so every year, or every 18 months, the Linux Foundation, through Amanda McPherson, John Corbett from Linux Weekly News, and me write how or who's doing what in the Linux kernel. We write a white paper. It's actually going to come out next week, but I got numbers from it, and don't tell them that I got the numbers early. So let's look at some numbers. Basic 3.19 just came out. You can see the things. 19 million lines of code. We cracked 19 million lines finally. Remember that number. The number's going to come back in later. For the last development period for the paper, 4,000 developers, individual. That's huge number of people. 500, we finally cracked the 500 barrier of unique companies. That's the largest, again, software project ever made. 4,000 developers, if you looked at who does what, so 1/3 of the people only do 1 patch. Then it's pretty much exponential. Half of that do 2 patches, half does 3 patches, and it's an exponential curve. But our top curve is pretty level, and the paper has some numbers on what things are doing. But it's a good, solid community. We're doing really well, which is nice to see. Our rate of change is not slowing down. Linux Foundation has told me not to use the word scary. It's fucking scary. It is bad. That's 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. This is the average for the past 18 months. That was our last release. Funny thing about our releases, the last 3 kernel releases took exactly 63 days. Exactly. So we're being very regular. We're being very regular releases are going faster. So what this means for you is, as a company, if you want to keep up, you cannot keep up with us if you have stuff outside of the tree. If you have a fork and expect to maintain it, The amount of work you did last year is going to be even more the amount of work you have to do next year and the year after that. It just keeps going up. So if you're going to try and keep stuff out of the tree and think you're going to stay alive, it's just not going to work. I'll talk more about that later. But yeah, 8.3 changes. That's crazy. Every year I say there's no possible way we can ever go faster, and every year I'm wrong. So prove me wrong again. These are the numbers I showed at Connect 2 years ago. These are just quantity, not quality. There's a hard way to judge quality. You know, one patch could be breaking it could fix a bug that everybody was having. So all we have to do is look at quantity for people like looking at numbers. So Linaro was number 5. This is really good. Linaro, after being around for 3 years, 2.5 years at that time, 5th largest contributor to the kernel. 4.4% of the kernel contributions came from Linaro, percentage-wise. So we use percentages instead of raw numbers because we're increasing more over time. So how'd you guys do last year? The same. But you increased in percentage, and then since we're going faster, you actually increased in rate of change. I looked at this, I don't remember what it was. I don't remember the wrong number. I'm going to give the wrong number. The number's going to be in the paper, but you guys are doing good. So the core thing is doing good. So congratulate yourself. Good job. So after John Corbett gave his talk at Hong Kong, about 6 months later, he gave another talk in Korea and talked about the embedded companies, specifically Linaro, Samsung, everybody else. And he said, if you look at these numbers, number 4, number 5, it looks like you guys are doing really good. You're contributing a lot. And then he said, you're wrong. He broke things down. He showed how the fact that all you're doing is contributing to drivers. You're contributing to architecture stuff for your chips. And that's fine. That's a fine thing for companies to do. You contribute to the kernel because you're selfish. You want to get your code to work. You want to get your hardware to work. And that's wonderful. That's like stage 3 of the contribution list, is you're contributing to make things good for you. What you really need to do is contribute to make things better for Linux overall for you and your customers. That's the peak of what John's talk was about. So let's look. I broke down these numbers for the past year and a half, where people are doing work, and see where you guys are doing work. So, architecture-specific code of the kernel. You guys are doing a good job. And you better be doing a good job, because this is your job. If you're not there, then something's wrong and you got bigger problems. But you are. I mean, IBM is doing huge. But the funny thing about IBM is they only have like 2 processors, right? And they're doing more work than you guys are doing, which is a little bit worrying because you have a lot more. Red Hat, who doesn't have hardware, they're doing a lot of stuff. I don't know how TI still stays around in these numbers. Anyway, sorry. Free electrons, Freescale. Intel is actually pretty interesting. They do contribute a lot to architecture, but it's not a lot of quantity because their chips have less variation in architecture-specific stuff. So that's just an interesting statistic. Imagination, something like that. Just to give you a sense of scale, ARM was number 11. So that was good. So ARM and then Linaro. But if you look, Renesas is doing ARM-specific stuff. But you guys are doing good in the core. So great. So you continue to be doing what you have been doing for the past years before that. Good job. Drivers. Drivers make up 55% of the kernel code. And architecture makes up like 20%. So between drivers and Arch-specific stuff, you guys are doing good. You have a lot of hardware. You're actually, if you look at the raw statistics, Rob pointed this out to me, ARM is going down in size for the past year. And it's moving to drivers. And that's a good thing. Linus yelled at you guys 2-3 years ago as to clean up your act, and you've done it. So thank you. You've done a really good job there. So you guys should be happy. Good job. So drivers, good. Unknown. Vision, number 7, that's one guy. Hartley, cleaning up the COMD subsystem. I love it. So that's proof that one person can make a difference. One guy does the good stuff. He shows up as a top quantity in the kernel all the time. His company relies on ARM servers, ARM little machines. They make engraving systems. Engraving for pet little tags and tombstones. Huge engraving systems. All running on some really ancient version ARM chip, but he's doing a good job of cleaning stuff up. SUSE, TI, still somehow. Okay, that's the generic stuff. This is what John pointed out 2 years ago. And then after this, the embedded companies disappeared. off the list of the core. So we got what? Networking, file systems, and then the core kernel. So let's see what you guys are doing. So networking, you guys have a whole networking initiative, right? You got the data plane, you got the enterprise stuff. You should be doing lots and lots of work there, right? You don't care. Or you're doing something wrong. If you guys care about the core networking subsystem, what is going on, what everybody is running, what the world is running on, you're not. You're actually, I looked up the number, you're 38th. 0.2% of all networking changes came from Linaro. For a company that has a whole initiative branch, you guys got to do some work. Does anybody know what University of Seville? I don't understand that one. I didn't have time. I'm guessing that's one or two guys. I don't know. Anyway, Google, of course, runs their whole infrastructure. And then the numbers make sense. But Intel, look at Intel. People think of Intel as a processor, architecture-specific stuff. They are modifying and getting the core of networking stack to work well with their chips, as they should. You guys need to do better too. Great, and then file systems. Everybody uses file systems, right? You guys don't. Or you guys think it's great, and you think it's fine, and that's acceptable. If you guys don't think the file system is an area to research and work in, that's wonderful. You actually only had 12 patches in 18 months. You were number 30th down there for file systems. That's fine. You're allowed to do that. You can do whatever you want. So let's talk about the core of the kernel. This is the interesting part. So the core of the kernel is 5%. That everybody runs that. That's the only piece of the kernel that all architectures, all subsystems, everybody uses. So how are you guys doing there? You're doing good. You're doing impressively good. I was thinking I was going to get to yell at you all day long. You guys need to give yourself a good round of applause for that one. One also reason why is, so Red Hat and SUSE have traditionally had the core Linux kernel developers work for them. And if you're a core Linux kernel developer, you can go work for anybody. The fact that Linaro has been able to keep and retain core Linux kernel developers is very important. This means that you have the ability to make and drive Linux forward in a way that works well for you and for your members. And that's very, very important. So you guys are doing good. Don't give up on this stuff. And along those lines, contributions are not the only most important thing. This is a graphic I draw all the time. Shows how patches go into the kernel. Developers, what do we say, 4,000. Driver file maintainers, we have about 700 of them. Subsystem maintainers, we got about 100, 150. Linus and Andrew, and then we send patches around, Linux next. Look at this. So developers send patches to a maintainer. Maintainers are the gatekeeper. Maintainers are, I've said before in talks to you guys and other people, maintainers are our most precious resource. We don't have enough of them. We don't have enough people reading code, we don't have enough people reviewing code, and that's really, really important. We need that. These are the people who say, this is good, this isn't good, this is acceptable, this isn't acceptable. These are the people that don't show up in the contribution list. I don't show up in the contribution list because I'm not writing much new code. All I'm doing is reviewing code. Other people at Linaro, all they're doing is reviewing code, so they don't show up on these magic numbers. That's wrong. These are the people that matter. These subsystem maintainers matter. They also matter because if you're able to do some work, if you want something done, you can go to those subsystem maintainers and they accept their own changes. So let's look. I cracked the numbers. John's been working on this for a while. How do we track who is doing the reviewing in the kernel? And this is what you guys are doing. You're there. You guys are you guys reviewed 21,000 patches last year. That's really, really good. You guys are you're in the top 10 of the gatekeepers of the people that are driving the kernel forward. That's really, really good. Don't stop. If you stop, if you see your maintainers aren't showing up on the contribution list, you see your engineers there, realize this is the most important thing possible. Red Hat is way up there. Number 3 is just me. That's scary. Another word. Intel, SUSE, IBM, Google. These are the people that drive Linux forward and guide how it's going to be. So for a company that's 4 years old, to be able to be the 8th most, or well, really 7th, because amateurs are just a big blob of people, 7th most influential group in the Linux kernel is amazing effort. You guys, again, have done really, really good. But the number thing to do is, how many people? So I said, like, I'm number 3, right? That's just me, and then Linus has a few other little things in there. How do we do numbers like quantity per engineer? So I tried doing those numbers, and it just blows up because you got some companies with just a tiny number of people, a large number of patches. So I just looked at number of pure contributions. So you can extrapolate from here. So for the past year, these are the number of engineers that contributed to the Linux kernel from these companies. It's good you actually cracked the top 10, but realize, go back. For being number 8, 21,000 patches, you really did it with very small number of engineers. That shows your engineers are really, really good. Intel threw bodies at the problem. IBM, I was really surprised. I did not realize they did that much. They had that many unique people. I looked at IBM's numbers. There's a large number of people doing a small amount of work. You guys are a small number of people doing a large amount of work. And that's really good. These are not things that don't show up in the general how many contributions we're showing. Again, you're the most influential. You and Novell are pretty much tied for the most influential based on the size of the company. And that's really important. For being, again, 4 years, you're doing a really, really good job. So give yourselves a round of applause. But wait. You thought you got off easy. I should have led with this. Anyway. I've been working on Project R for the past 8 months or so. Part of that process, we went through, we're like, let's pick a chip, right? Pick a chip, put out bids for what chip we're going to use. And part of the process was they said, what kernel tree is your chip based on? We're like, give us the latest stuff, 310, 314, whatever. And then a bunch of us downloaded these trees, pretty much all Rob did this work, and started looking at what the patches were for these SoCs. And I knew there was a problem, but I never knew what it really, really was. It's bad. Oh, wait, I messed up. Okay. This is your tree. This is Linaro's tree that you base all your work off of. You're adding 76,000 lines of code to the kernel. So out of the 18 million, that's a small percentage. You can say, oh, that's nice. In your tree, I've looked, this is only core changes. There's no driver-specific stuff. There's no architecture-specific stuff. So for some reason, you guys feel it's important to change 76,000 lines of the core kernel for your members and you and not contribute it back. That's not okay. It's a small number, though. I mean, so it's okay. It's a small number. Some things don't get merged. Some things do get merged. But if you're looking to increase your numbers, work on that. There's code already written. There's no reason why all your products should be based on this. So 76,000 lines. I'm okay. That's a reasonable amount of number. No, it's not backports. It's new features. Yeah. Plus, there's the core site code. That was backport. And that actually did just get merged. But the majority of this is actually not core. This is stuff. But also, preempt is in there. Android is in there. And bits and pieces you are helping to work to get upstream. Like Android, John's done a really good job. Real time, I don't know if you guys are helping out or not. The reason, though, people are relying on this, you're relying on this, the reason it isn't upstream isn't okay. But 76,000 lines, I mean, everybody has vendor trees, everybody does. That's a reasonable number. So when we started looking for Project R stuff, we started downloading trees. And here's a tree that I found from one of your member companies. So that's 1.3 million lines of code added to your kernel. This is a very common chip. Probably half the people in this room use it on their phones. That's not okay. That is, remember 18 million, 19 million lines of code? So you're like, okay, 1.3, so 1/19 of the kernel. All right, that's a tiny amount. You're modifying a little bit. Must be some architecture-specific stuff. Must be okay. But then I realized, well, how much code does my laptop run? My laptop, all drivers, all graphic stuff, all kernel, 1.3 million lines of code. This tree is adding 1.3 million lines of code. That tree is not Linux. All these SoC trees are not Linux. They are some other frankenkernel. These are horrible. Your customers, your member companies are building products on something that is bigger than what we have created. That is not Linux. There's crazy stuff out there. You guys know this stuff. That's not acceptable. This needs to fix. This needs to change. Again, would you really trust to run an entire operating system that really nobody has ever run? You may be the core, so the 5%'s common. But the majority of what you run on these SoCs has never been reviewed by the community, never been seen by the community, and the community doesn't know about it. I mean, this is crazy, crazy stuff. You got the syscalls, and that's it. Again, these are not Linux. It looks like Linux. It's mainline based. Everything's mainline based. That's a really stupid quote. So that's bad. You guys need to fix this. And there's a reason why to fix this. It's in your best interest. You can be a self-serving, money-grubbing company and do this work. It saves you time and money. Again, Intel and IBM has publicly said it saves you time and money to do this. IBM had their code for the new Power 8 architecture merged upstream before it taped out. Intel, we ripped code out of the Linux kernel for chips that Intel never shipped. They were that far ahead of you guys. They're that much ahead of you guys. They are that much easier. So if I was to grab an Intel architecture, if I want to do an Intel chip in a phone, they point me at mainline. Most everything there is upstream. Well, yeah, you're waving your head. There are bits and pieces, but it's not 1.3 million lines of code. It is 1.3 million? Oh, great. Okay. Server stuff is nothing. Yes, server is nothing. Well, okay, then all right, Intel Embedded Group needs to go. I need to go give this talk to them. Great, they need to listen to their own words. I honestly haven't looked at Intel stuff. This is not okay. You are in the position to change this. Your job as Linaro is to help your members do good things. You need to justify your existence. You can easily justify your existence by getting this stuff upstream. It will save them time and money. And you are the only people who can fix this. You have influence over these member companies. You can do this work. If you're looking at something to do for the next 4 or 5 years, fix this problem. Because you're the only people, and you have to fix this problem. You guys know how bad this problem is bringing up new hardware. It is horrible. It takes a lot of time, a lot of effort, and we're all wasting it. This is wasted time. We should be able to do better things with our work. So please, please fix this. Thank you.
Did anybody leave the Mika, Ashika, anybody leave this last night? If you did leave it, there you go. Come up here afterwards. Okay, so we're off for the day. Back in here at 12:10, and please everybody be back here for a special closing at 1:30. Have a great day.